Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll begin with a quick introduction of who I am, first of all. So my name's Rachel. I work for a Christian charity called Asset UK. We're based in Chester, but also in London as well. And we have a large network of educators who go out into schools, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But today, the talk we're going to be doing, which I hope you know you've signed up for, is about young people, working with young people and talking to them about self-generated sexually explicit images and also pornography. So the first bit, self-generated sexually explicit images, we're talking about naked images, okay, or sending nudes, we might call it. So we're going to spend about half and half on each, so about 10 minutes on each of the two different topics, and then you're going to go into a breakout group and you're going to do a little activity together. So it's just really kind of confidence building around the topic, okay, because it is one that we know affects a lot of young people today. Right, so something we always do is a group agreement. So we do this with the young people we work with, but we do it with the people that we train as well. So we train adults, but we also always show this to young people because we think it sets a good kind of precedent for how the activity or how the session is going to go. So we're going to show respect to one another. So even if you've got quite different opinions, please just, be mindful of that and speak to one another kindly. I'm sure you're going to do that anyway. Anything we talk about is confidential, so it will stay within the session here. So we're not going to kind of, talk about private issues, but it will be quite general. However, if you do have a question, feel free to either stop and put it into the chat, or if you want to hold on to the end, if you've got a burning question, maybe jot it down, and then at the end we'll have a quick Q&A where we can try and answer them. Okay, so is everyone happy with that? Yep, if so, we will move on. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a summary about who we are, why I'm here talking about this today. So Asset UK stands for AIDS Care Education and Training, and it came from a compassionate response to the AIDS epidemic back in the 1980s. So our founder, Dr. Patrick Dixon, he set it up as a way of supporting people who've been stigmatized and treated quite poorly as a result of having HIV. He provided home care, and then from that, a training kind of program began and education in schools as well to raise awareness around HIV among schools, teachers, churches, and various people. And over the past 37 years, that's actually kind of ranged out into like a broader range of wide topics. So we've got things like consent, we talk about STIs, contraception, all kinds of different topics around this subject. So today, we're going to be talking about one particular topic, first of all, which is sexually explicit images. So you might have heard it referred to as sexting. When we talk to young people, we tend to refer to it as sending nudes, okay? Sexting, the term sexting can get a bit confused because it could be to do with like written messages, but primarily what we're going to focus on is the sending of naked images. Now, I'm not going to read all the data to you, but if you have a look at that data, okay, you can see there is a large minority of young people who are either sending or receiving naked images. So self-generated naked images, that means from a phone, from some kind of device. Now, when I say a large minority, what that really means is actually the majority of young people are not sending naked images, okay? So that's a positive thing, okay? But there is a large minority. So it is something we want to talk about, but it's not something we want to overemphasize or overstress, okay? So thinking about that, we're going to quickly talk about the law around this, okay? Some of you may be familiar with it already. Some of you may not be so familiar, but the law is something we do talk about with young people, but we don't stop at the law. We don't only make it about that. Okay, we'll come to why in just a minute. So if you look at the law would tell you here under 3 different pieces of legislation, the fact that creating, sharing or distributing explicit images of minors, of people under the age of 18, is illegal, even if it is a child taking that image themselves. Okay, so it's illegal to take an image, it's illegal to store it, and it's illegal to distribute it. Now, one of the things that young people often find the most interesting and challenge us on is the fact that the law says you have to be 18, because they say, why is it 18 when we're allowed to engage in the act of sex at 16? And they often think we're not telling the truth, and so they kind of want to know, well, why is that the case? And basically the reason is obviously it comes across as being child pornography. So somebody under the age of 18 in an image, it's considered to be child pornography. Also, there's potential to do a lot more harm from an image that's been shared and distributed and perhaps the potential to do harm in a one-to-one relationship. So the age is higher. Okay. So we're going to have a look at a quick scenario now, and I'm going to reveal it kind of bit by bit, and then we're going to think about two different questions. So I want you to keep in your head these two questions, and then you can respond by typing in the chat when I ask you at the end of the scenario. Okay, so first of all, who do you think is responsible for sharing the image, for the image circulating? Who's responsible for that image circulating? And the second question is, who is breaking the law? Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. Sam takes a naked selfie. Sam sends the photo to Kennedy, who they're dating, who then saves it. Kennedy is bragging to friends about getting the photo. Kennedy shows them the photo on their phone. Kennedy's friend, Jessie, steals Kennedy's phone and sends the photo of Sam onto Jessie's phone. Jessie sends the photo to 10 people at school, and they pass it on and post it online. Okay, so think back to those two questions. Can you type in the chat, who do you think is responsible for circulating that image, that naked image? Okay, let's have a look at the chat. So, okay, somebody's saying all that are involved. Sam, okay, so Sam, the person who created the image, we're saying. Lots of people are saying Sam, some of you are saying all. Okay, that's interesting. So in fact, the person who is responsible for circulating the image, not creating the image, but circulating it, would be Jessie. Okay, so Jessie is the one who's passed that photo on. They've given it to other people who have circulated it. Now, Sam took the picture, but Sam wasn't the one passing it around or circulating it. So the person responsible for doing that would be Jessie. We could partly give blame to Kennedy as well, because Kennedy has shown the picture, but the person circulating it would be Jessie, who would be responsible. Okay, the second question, second part of that, which you might think is the same, but it's a tiny bit different, is who is breaking the law in the situation? So if you type it into the chat, who you think is breaking the law? Okay, so Reese is saying all. Oh, hang on, sorry, I'm wrong. I need to scroll down. Right, okay, we're saying all. Yeah. Oh, Kennedy. No, sorry. Yeah, Kennedy, Jessie in school. Sam, Kennedy, and Jessie. Okay, good. You're all correct this time. Well, most of you were correct by putting all. Okay, so they are all breaking the law. Why?
They're under 16.
Oh, well, not they're under 16, but under, what's the legal age?
18.
18, yeah. 18. So 18. Yeah. So again, that's a common kind of thing that young people say, oh, it's 16. It's like, no, we always have to remind them, no, it's 18. Absolutely. But they're all minors. They're all considered to be minors in the eyes of the law. They're under 18. Therefore, each of them is breaking the law. However, okay, the role of the law is there to protect young people and not to punish them. So in this situation here, okay, Sam is not likely to be the one who gets into trouble. If I show you it, like with the color coding, you'll see that so the color coding is showing you that who the police look most severely at in this situation, and it's actually Jesse who is most likely. Jesse and the people who pass that photo on are the ones the police are interested in talking to. Okay, although Sam has broken the law by taking the naked image, and Kennedy has effectively broken the law by storing it and showing it, the severity of the police investigating this kind of increases as we get to people sharing the image, to distributing it. Okay, so Sam isn't likely to be in trouble, but Jesse and their friends are. And we always need to try and explain that to young people to help them to understand, well, actually, yes, that person did break the law. They took the image. So you're saying it's their fault, but actually you are the ones sharing it. So effectively that amounts to bullying, to harassment. So the police are much more likely to be involved at that point. Okay. So the law is there to protect young people, like I said. Now, it might be that you have young people in your youth groups, in the schools you work in, who have experienced this. It could be that, they've had naked images that have been shared and put online. And that could be quite traumatic. It would be quite difficult for them. We've had a number of cases where we've been called into schools where it's been an issue. Now, if that happens, okay, be reassured that although it's hard to get a picture taken down off the internet, it is possible. So if you go to the IWF, the Internet Watch Foundation, they can anonymously get it taken down for you. Okay, so they team up with Childline. They've got a report it, remove it process where you can report a situation like that, and they will be able to get that taken down. Okay, so if you go to CEOP, they will also be able to tell you about it, and IWF. But they are the people that I would signpost you to. So CEOP is CEOP, Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre. But you've also got Childline and IWF. And together, they would be able to direct you to get it taken down. Okay, so our focus as STEAM educators is not to just beat the young people round the head with the law. Okay, we don't want to educate them in a way that's creating fear or just talking about the law. We want to get them to think about relationships, okay, and the fact that actually if you take images in a relationship that are intimate and private, what would be the impact of sharing them? So we try to get them to think about, well, how will it affect my relationship? What does a good, healthy relationship look like in terms of intimacy and privacy? So that's what we would encourage you to talk to your young people about, rather than just say, if you do this, you are breaking the law. Okay, so one activity idea that we have for working with young people is something that's actually a resource you can buy. We sell it on our website. Youthscape also sell it because we made it in conjunction with them several years ago, and it's called #IsItOkay. So it's like a green box like that, and it's got lots of different kind of cards in it. And these are mannequins, okay? So these have been dressed up. We had a photo shoot with them. They've been dressed up in different levels of kind of dress and undress. And we use it to talk about concepts of intimacy, privacy, and trust. We get young people to really think about, well, actually, what is the aim of this picture? Is the aim to make somebody feel amused? Is the aim of it, is the focus to arouse someone? So, and then we talk about, well, what does that mean in terms of the law? If you're, showing a nude or a semi-nude image, effectively that is breaking the law. But also, what would happen if your mum saw it, if your neighbour saw it? So we get them to have really good conversations using these cards, and they really love doing that. And that's because it's created for a youth group. It's not created to be used just in schools. It's something that is good for small groups where you can really have those discussions. So that's one idea for an activity that you could do. Okay. We're going to come on to another activity later on, which is going to be a free activity that you could do, but that was just something I wanted to flag up. And then we're going to move on to the topic of porn now. So if you've got any questions about sending nudes, do feel free to kind of jot them down, because we'll come back at the end and answer anything around that. But we're going to take a look at porn for the next 10 minutes or so. Okay. So porn. Now, we often hear it referred to as pornography, but actually we would use the term pornographies, okay? Because there are many different types of porn, different types of pornography. So I'm not going to name them all. I'm not going to go into all of the details of those. But we do know that in terms of pornographies, they could be written, there could be kind of literature, it could be to do with anime, all kinds of different types. But the one we're going to focus on, and the one that most young people are referring to when they talk about porn, is mainstream porn. Okay, so this is the one we're going to kind of talk about now. Okay, so we're going to do a quick activity where I'm going to get you to agree or disagree with different statements. So if you agree with a statement, if you type agree into the chat, if you disagree with it, then feel free to write disagree. Oh, I've just seen a question, sorry. What is the cost of the kit? That's £25. It's quite a nice resource. You can use it, yeah, in lots of different ways. I'll go into more detail at the end if you've got questions. Yeah, so okay, first one then. Most young people watch porn. What do we think? Do you agree or disagree? Let's have a look. Oh, we've got a mixture of people disagreeing, agreeing, disagree. It's very split at the moment. Disagree, okay. Any more? Feel free if you're not sure. Disagree, okay. I think we started with more agrees and we kind of got more disagrees. Okay, so I'm going to show you stats for that in just a moment, so I'm not actually going to give you the answer to that one yet. But it's interesting to see how much we agreed and disagreed with that one. Okay, next one is learning about sex from porn is better than no RSE. So RSE standing for relationships and sex education. So is it better to learn from porn than to have no relationships and sex education? Let's have a look. Okay, disagreeing mainly, I think now. Oh, okay. Okay, feel free to jump in and say why as well if you want to. Possibly. Okay. If anyone wants to expand on that, you're very welcome to. Or if you want to unmute, feel free to share any thoughts about that. Ambivalent, somebody saying. Anyone feel very strongly that they'd like to say something about that? No?
Yeah, I put possibly because it's their sort of experience language. If general sex education in a lesson is at school is possibly looked on as a bit of a laugh, really, and it's not important and it doesn't matter. But to them in their sort of environments, probably it's more relevant through porn.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's good.
I put disagree because unfortunately, all the cases that I know of that I've been actually involved with where young people have accessed porn have always had a negative impact. I've never seen anything positive come from it. That's just my experience.
Yeah.
I think my concern would be that if young people who are in same-sex relationships, that maybe not all types of sex can be covered in sex and relationship educations in mainstream schools as well. So perhaps they would go somewhere looking for education and support, and that's quite a risky route to go down.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the biology of it, how does it work biologically? Because often we don't go into the details of that. Yeah, okay, that's a really good point. We do hear a lot of young people say, yeah, they think it is a form of education. We would say, is it a good form of education? Possibly not, because there are lots of things they learn from pornography that may not be true. And the activity we're going to do at the end in a few minutes is going to get you to think about some of the myths and the lies that maybe pornography might feed young people, that we might want to talk about and address. Yeah, somebody, Carol's saying disagree, as it might not show healthy relationships. Yeah, so in fact it might not show any kind of relationship, so it might just be simply a transaction. So although you might be learning some things about the biology of the mechanics of sex, you may not be learning very much about the relational aspects of it, or at least in a healthy way. Okay. Right, we will come on to the next one because of time. Right. Pornography is degrading towards women. What do we think about that one? Do we agree or disagree? You can type or you can share. I'm very happy to do both. Okay, so we're saying agree. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Somebody's saying in 99% of cases they agree. Degrading to men and women. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Disagree can be a okay. Yeah. Right. Most people are agreeing with that, but a couple of people are saying they disagree because it could be men too. Did anyone want to add anything about that?
So I have a friend who said that she really wanted to watch porn, but she didn't want to support that industry because of the misogyny. So she subscribed to a what she called an ethical porn site, which was like,
Yeah.
yeah, and she just said it was the most boring porn she'd ever watched in her life. So she actually switched back. But yeah, but that was, she said that wasn't degrading and that wasn't bad. But like, 99.9999% of cases, I'm sure it is degrading.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And it's interesting that she found it boring because it just kind of brings the question up of what is exciting in pornography that is better than seeing, something that's more ethical and not perhaps normal. Okay, that's interesting though. Thank you. Okay, anyone else want to say that what they feel strongly one way or the other? Don't have to.
I think alongside it being degraded, maybe this kind of changes what you're trying to say in the statement there, Rachel, is I also think it's quite damaging for young women who are learning, perhaps I'm supposed to like that, I'm supposed to enjoy that, I'm supposed to look like that, I am supposed to react like that if that happens to me.
Yeah.
So I guess,
100%.
degrading / damaging, especially, kind of young, impressionable minds and brains and things. So
Yeah, absolutely. And although a couple of people are correct, it does affect men as well because they become very aware of their body standards, body image, and think they have to look like porn actors. So it can be degrading to them to some extent or damaging to them. But I think young women in particular, they are taught certain things, like you say, about having to be submissive or having to accept certain behaviors that perhaps they wouldn't normally in real life. So when we work with young people, we've had a number of them, particularly recently, saying that they think that strangling and choking someone during sex is normal. And again, that's something that has come through. We know from pornography, it's quite commonplace to see that in pornography now, even mainstream pornography. So it's kind of filtered through. So yeah, and they do think they're expected to be submissive during sex. So it's always important to kind of challenge that and to do it with girls and boys at the same time, so they can both see what the other thinks as well, and maybe challenge both sides. But yeah, thank you. That's interesting. Right, I will move on quickly to the next one. Do we think that reading explicit sex scenes is the same as watching pornography? This one always gets people a bit like unsure. Okay, that's what we've written. Oh, okay. Majority of you are disagreeing. Okay. No, depends. Not sure. Okay, yep. This is always a bit of a grey area, this one, I feel. So I would say when we talk about pornographies, we could potentially count some explicit literature, but it might have a different impact because we know when you see something visually, it can be quite different. And it could be perhaps, in porn, we've got a lot more of the kind of aggressive behaviors that maybe aren't in books. So particularly those of you who might have grown up in the Mills and Boon kind of age, you might remember those things, or, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other stories. But the point is, today, there are some books out there which are quite explicit, I would say. I don't know if you've heard of spicy fiction, but it's making a big trend at the moment, particularly on TikTok. And often it's to do with like a magical or mythical beast kind of ravaging a young female. So we've got a lot of that kind of genre going on, and that's quite popular at the moment. So in a sense, maybe that could be considered a type of pornography. But yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, there we go. Another example, definitely. So it is a tricky one, okay, and it's one that people aren't necessarily going to agree on, but it's just worth getting you to think about what your thoughts around that are. Okay, the final one then, let's see what we do, if we agree on this or not. Talking about porn will encourage young people to watch porn. Do we agree or disagree? Okay, let's have a look at the chat, see what answers I'm going to get. Oh, okay, phew. Okay, great. I was hoping it would be a unanimous verdict of disagree. Yeah, absolutely. So talking about pornography will not lead to them watching porn, but it might help steer them away from it, might help to give them different values that they can question about what they're actually seeing, and whether they uphold what they would really like to have in an ideal relationship. So I think, yeah, it's good to talk, okay, and it's not bad to talk at all. So I'm really glad we all agree on that one. Mm-hmm. Right, so in terms of the first statement that I showed you, as to how many young people watch porn, okay, we can look at it two different ways. One can be kind of in a positive way. Well, actually, no more than half of young people have seen pornography. However, we can look at it in a different way and say, well, actually 50% is quite a lot. So half of all 13-year-olds effectively have seen porn. We know the number rises. So the older the young person gets, the much more likely they are to have encountered pornography. So almost 80% of young people have seen violent pornography by the age of 18, which is quite staggering. That's quite a worrying statistic, I think. Okay, so we know that, yeah, although younger people might not have seen so much of it, they are likely to have encountered it by the age of 18. So why are they watching it? Well, primarily because they want to, out of curiosity. Young people, we know, are curious. They're curious about everything. But particularly, with all their hormones and things, they're hungry to have an education, to know about sex and to understand how it works. So it could be intentional why they're watching it. We also know they might want to watch it because they want to masturbate and they think it's a good way to show them how to do that. They might, however, see it accidentally, so it could be unintended. They come across it by accident, and the majority of young people who first encounter pornography, it's accidental. They've seen a pop-up come up on their screen, and they didn't go looking for it in the beginning, but they might have come across it by accident and then maybe searched for it more out of curiosity after that. It could also be because of peer pressure. So pressure from others, people who might have it on their phones or be showing them it. But it could also, one of the large reasons would be that it's available, it's accessible and free. And people, are told to put in their date of birth, but actually that's not really verified. It's not checked thoroughly. So it can be very easy to access. So there's a number of reasons why young people watch pornography. So I'm going to think quickly about the impact of it. We know there are lots of different ways, different impacts of pornography upon young people. One we've picked out here, though, is the one where, Children's Commissioner identified this in a report in 2023, sorry. For males, exposure to violent pornography was the strongest predictor of perpetrating sexual violence. So thinking about that doesn't mean that every person who watches violent porn is going to go on to commit sexual violence, but it does show that there might be a link, or there appears to be a strong link between the two. So if somebody were already kind of predisposed, I can't speak today, disposed to committing sexual violence, then perhaps watching pornography might just exacerbate that. Okay. All right, so obviously we need to educate young people that we work with, we talk to, about the porn they're encountering. And this kind of comes under two headings. Some of them might be dealing with compulsive viewing, where perhaps they're finding it hard to kind of break the habit or have a type of addiction to it, and that they find that quite hard to kind of get away from once they've started watching it. The other aspect is the distorting views of sex. So how watching pornography can change their views of sex and relationships. So I'm just going to quickly signpost you and give you some recommendations. So for those who are struggling with compulsive viewing, we would recommend going to the Naked Truth Project website. They're a Christian charity who support young people and the people around them to do with issues to do with compulsive viewing of pornography. They have materials, they have resources, they have online support groups that people can attend. So if you had a young person who was struggling with porn addiction, then I would encourage you to go and have a look there. The other one would be Fortify. So Fortify is actually a US-based app. But the good thing about this, it's digital. A lot of young people like digital materials, so they can use the app, and there is a course to help them to give up or to quit pornography if they wanted to do so. Now, the other strand of that was looking at...
Can I just check?
Yeah?
Both of those, are they suitable for adults as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I would say in terms of young people, yeah, I would signpost them to them. There are lots of other ones for adults that you could go to, but you can also direct adults to the Naked Truth as well. Okay. So the other strand of the two things that we would want to support young people with is the fact that they get told things by the media that are basically outright lies. And that's not just pornography, but it might be mainstream kind of pop culture as well. So pop music, movies, TV, all of those different types of media. Now, if you didn't feel comfortable talking to your young person directly about pornography, this is where you might start. You might start to look at the different lies or tropes that media feeds us generally, okay? And from there, you could then go on to kind of delving deeper into a conversation around porn. So what I'm going to do now, or what I think Megan's going to do, is put you into two breakout groups. And I want you to come up just with, like, if you've got a post-it note or a piece of paper available, feel free to jot it down. And then, or you can actually just, yeah, talk about it together and I'll take some feedback. But what I would do if I was doing it with young people is just get them to write down ways that they think media falsely represents relationships and sex. And that can be any kind of media, any of the lies you think it gives us. And then they would write it down and then we would talk about it. But you're going to do that together in a small group now, okay? So we're going to pop you into the breakout groups.
Sorry, it's been a while since I did this, so bear with me 1 minute.
There we go. Yeah, okay, so if I join room 2.
No, I've still got 10 minutes left. Okay, you're going to start and find out. No, Charlotte. No, she's coming once. You're on mute, Rachel, sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't sure